Hi all, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about values and values-based goal setting. I'll be talking about what a value is and how we can base our goals for the future around our values. So first of all, what is a value? Well, like a compass, values give our life direction, and ultimately our values represent what we want to stand for in life. Now often, because life gets busy and our lives are filled with things that perhaps aren't most meaningful to us, we can lose sight of our values a little bit. And this can mean that going forwards and achieving our goals can become very distant from the person that we want to be or the identity that we want to form for ourselves. So this is why I've done this video today, to talk about how to, first of all, recognize what your values are, and then how to set goals around those values so that you're living your life full of meaning and purpose. So in order to live a rich and meaningful life, we need to be able to recognize and connect with our values. So the first thing to think about is what's most meaningful to you. What brings you joy? What brings you energy? What brings you purpose in life? You may have a skill that you feel helps others, and that might tie in with your values. Otherwise, it's really important to have a think about what your desired identity is. So who is the person that you want to be, and what do you want to represent? Now, we may not be completely there as people at this stage in our lives, and it's always good to be looking to improve and develop as a person. So having a look at your desired identity is a really good starting point to recognize what your values are. Now, there's a little bit more information in my free email course that I have made on forming healthy habits and achieving your goals. So if you haven't already signed up to that, I will leave a link to that course in the description below. Sign up is completely free. It's a 7-day email course, and it's a really, really good way of starting on your journey towards achieving your goals and forming some really, really good habits. In that course, I talk about identity in more detail, I talk about values in more detail, and I actually help you through the process in how to achieve your short-term goals and your long-term goals. We're going to talk about goals a little bit in a moment, but that does go into more detail about those things. I also mentioned that we'd be talking about values-based goal setting in this video, and I just want to start off by telling you the difference between a value and a goal. So as I mentioned before, values are what give our lives meaning and direction. They don't specifically have an end target, and they're not time bound. They're something that we always keep in mind when we're living our life. So they're the way in which we live our life. Okay. Now, goals are a little bit different because goals can be time specific and they can have an end goal. That's what they call goals. So there is a slight difference between values and goals. Values, we always have in mind. They're the way in which we live our lives, and goals might be that end thing that we're aiming to achieve. Okay, so I'm going to let you know a little bit now about how they tie together. So I'll share some of my own values. I have 4 values. My first value is around personal growth. My second value is around my own health. My third value is having quality interactions with friends and family. And my fourth value is around helping others through my work. Now, all of those values together led to me starting the Wellness Puzzle and wanting to come onto YouTube and speak to you guys to see if I can help people through this channel as well. So you can see the way that those values have kind of shaped the direction that I've taken and has led to me starting this YouTube channel as well. So here we can see inside the circle, I have the word values. Now, this is going back to what I said earlier. So values are the way in which we lead our lives, and they provide direction and meaning to our lives. So they remain in the centre. Around that, we can formulate our goals. Now, our goals are always specific to us as individuals, and usually they tie in with our values. So if something is important to us, we will set a goal around achieving that thing. So in this example, we might look at a long-term goal being something that is 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, however long it may be. Okay. For this, let's say it's going to be 6 months, just to use an example. So a long-term goal may be something like, I would like to begin doing yoga for 20 minutes every day in 6 months' time. It may be, I want to start cycling to and from work every day in 6 months' time. Or it may be, for me, for example, it might be that I want to grow my YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers in 6 months' time. Okay, so there we have a long-term goal. Now, often when we're thinking about our long-term goal, and this will be specific to you, so you might want to pause the video and have a think about what your long-term goal is here. But when we're thinking about our long-term goal, sometimes it can seem quite daunting and quite far away, okay? Because it is in the long term, to get from where we are today to that long-term goal can feel like a really, really big jump. And that can be a little bit demotivating at times, and that can actually stop us from pursuing that goal because it seems so far away. So what's really, really important here is to be able to break down that long-term goal into shorter, more achievable goals that we can achieve perhaps in the next week or month or 3 months. So taking the examples I used before, moving from the long-term goal to the short-term goal with the yoga example might be to do yoga for 20 minutes twice a week initially. With the cycling to work example, it might be to ride to work once a week. With the example I gave for myself, with the YouTube channel, for me, I know that I need to be posting one video every week for the next 3 to 6 months. So there we can see how I've broken down those long-term goals into the shorter-term goals. What's really important when you're setting goals is to make them SMART. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-focused. When we apply the SMART principle to our goals, they provide a little bit more structure around the goal and allows us to move towards them a little bit more easily. So here we've gone from long-term to short-term goal. Now, sometimes even the short-term goal can feel quite out of reach. So it might be appropriate to break that down even further into things that you can achieve within the next week or even the next day that will move you closer to the short-term goal. So let's go back to the examples again. So with the yoga example, the long-term goal is to do yoga 20 minutes every day in 6 months' time. The short-term example was to be able to do yoga 20 minutes twice a week, let's say in the next 2 months. And what the daily action might be initially is just to get the yoga mat out and build from there. So it might be that the first thing is to get the yoga mat out. It might be then to do 5 minutes of yoga, 10 minutes, and building up towards the short-term goal. With the cycling example, the goal was to be able to cycle to and from work every day in 6 months' time. The short-term goal was to be able to cycle to work once a week. And then to break that down even further, let's say you haven't cycled for a while, it might be just to get the cycle out and go for a 10-minute cycle, not to work, but it might be at a weekend just to practice cycling again. Again, then you can build from there. With my own example I gave around YouTube, I know that to get to 1,000 subscribers, I will need to be able to post at least once a week for the next 3 to 6 months. And to help me achieve that on a daily level, what I would need to do is assign 1 to 2 hours every day to be able to work on planning the videos, filming the videos, and editing the videos as well. Now, those daily actions that we've just got from breaking down the long-term goal into short-term goals into daily actions should seem a lot more achievable. If they don't seem achievable, break them down further. It should almost be a case of, okay, that's so easy that I will definitely achieve that. And even feeling like it's ridiculously easy, like just getting the yoga mat out or just getting the bike out, is a really, really good starting point. Because we need to be able to form the habit first of all, before we can improve the habit. And again, just going back to the free email course that I've got, this is all talked about in there in more detail, so sign up if you haven't already. The other thing to remember when we are achieving goals, so let's say we get to that short-term goal and eventually we get to that long-term goal, is to give yourself a reward. Behaviours that are rewarded are repeated. Behaviours that aren't repeated. So it's really important to reward yourself when you do get to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Now, if you'd like to have a little bit more help on knowing how to build up physical goals, so around exercise or any other physical activity that you're doing, I do have a blog post to this. It's called Do I Have to Exercise? I really don't have the time, motivation or energy, and I will leave a link to that in the description as well. Finally, if you are struggling with your activity levels and managing activity levels, maybe because you are struggling with pain or fatigue when you're trying to increase things or try to do more, then I have done a previous video on overcoming what we call the boom-bust cycle through a technique called pacing, planning and prioritizing. So be sure to check that out as well if activity levels is something you are struggling to manage. So finally, it's really important to have a think about your values, and they should help form your goals that you want to achieve. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Any questions you've got, please pop them in the comments. I will reply to them. And if you haven't already done so, please hit subscribe to this channel and share this with anyone that you think may benefit from it. I really appreciate you watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.